I call to order the special meeting of the Common Council of the City of Cudahy for Tuesday, January 21st, 2014 at 6:30 p.m. Prior to this meeting, notice was given community posted in the appropriate places. Notice was also given to the news media requested by the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel and mycommunitynow.com. On a roll call, Alderman Morales. Here. Alderperson Schizzo.
Here.
Alderman Hollenbeck.
Here.
Alderman Likuid.
Here.
And Alderman Bartoshevich. Item on the agenda, number 1, discussion and appropriate action regarding the request of Sergeant Andrew Kitzrow for special fees to be charged against nuisance properties within the City of Cudahy owned by Anthony Paparo, 5835 South Quality Avenue, 3465/67 East Layton Avenue, and 3539 East Plainton Avenue. The way this will be conducted is this is a public hearing where both sides will be able to state their case. We will ask that the Cudahy Police Department state their case first, and Mr. Paparo will be able to state his case second. As far as public comment, other than a representative or Mr. Paparo and the Cudahy Police Department, there will be no other citizen input during this public hearing. I will provide one warning if anybody gets out of line during this hearing. That will be your first and final warning. Your second warning, you will be removed from the council chambers. This is the same procedure that we used during the previous chronic nuisance hearing, and will, as the chair of this committee, we will proceed that way again this evening. City Attorney Sergeant Kitzrow is here, and Chief Pellet from the Cudahy Police Department, Mr. Paparo. You are here representing yourself. Is there anybody else here representing you?
Yeah, my attorney is here.
Okay.
Good evening, Lynn Millers. I've been retained by Mr. Paparo, and I had, I don't know if you want to do this now, but...
If you would like to come forward.
If I could.
Yes.
I was just retained on this, and I understand that Mr. Paparo has just obtained all of the citations that are relevant to this. So I was hoping to get some time to sit down and look at those, and then talk to the sergeant and perhaps the city attorney to see if there's a way to resolve this before we go further. And obviously I need some time to talk to him and to take a look at that. So that was my request, if that's something you consider this evening.
Okay, Sergeant Kitzrow. The citations and information that was provided to Mr. Paparo, there have been additional meetings with Mr. Paparo prior to the notice that was sent out which created this hearing, correct?
Yes, we were here back in August regarding charges the first time.
Okay.
The citation that she's speaking about, I'm not sure what, unless that's the citation that was issued back in March of last year.
Okay.
What I'm referring to is my understanding, at least from what I have, that what we're looking at is a listing that I think was attached to the notice that was sent out to him in January.
Which was the list of all the calls that were provided with this public meeting notice.
And that's what I had hoped to go through with him, and he just obtained copies today. So that's something I haven't had a chance to take a look at with him yet. And I certainly haven't had a chance to discuss with the sergeant or anyone else.
And those copies would have been provided to Mr. Paparo when the letter was sent out, correct?
The listing of the charges that I was seeking were there.
Okay.
It's just a listing, but it's not, I can't help him if I can't see what the actual charges that were involved are and what we're talking about. And that's what I needed to obtain. Because just a listing giving me, a certain listing of who it was or which I don't think it even has, doesn't provide me with enough information to really help him or give him any legal advice with respect to whether that's a nuisance activity and what he should be doing with respect to these things, and how he can help the city and how he can help himself to get these things resolved.
Okay. And you were hired by Mr. Paparo when?
He called me last week. It's difficult for him to get around, so I met with him at the end of last week, and I just had a chance to look through this yesterday, and I called the city attorney then yesterday as well.
City Attorney Everhardy, if this matter were in, let's say, Milwaukee County Circuit Court, another court other than a hearing before the council, and an attorney was brought into a process like this, I don't want to say in the 11th hour, but pretty close to the 11th hour, no disrespect to you, attorney, would a judge presiding over that hearing hear an argument to allow more time for an attorney to review the information and come back before the council at a later time?
Yes.
Okay. Typically, what would they give that attorney to review the information?
Basically, if we were downtown, keep in mind this is an judicial matter, but if we were downtown, usually the judge will ask the attorney how long they would have to review the documents and get together with their client, and then a hearing would be scheduled shortly thereafter.
Okay. So in the common council's case, they could postpone this 2 weeks if they chose to do so, and bring it back before the governing body in 2 weeks.
Correct.
Okay.
This governing body could go forward today, which,
Correct.
I mean, obviously, I don't know exactly when Mr. Paparo got the information, but the city has been dealing with Mr. Paparo for quite a while. So, but is that his attorney's fault? Not necessarily.
Right, and again,
got the information yesterday or the day before, whenever that was, and she wants to bear a defense for her client, which I understand.
right, but again, Mr. Paparo has known that there have been problems associated with this property. He's been in contact with the Cudahy Police Department several times. It wasn't a great surprise or shock to him that he received a letter from the Cudahy Police Department and a copy of the police calls that were involved in it that has brought us to this hearing tonight. Okay, Alderman Morales.
I was going to say pretty much the same thing that Attorney Everhart said. This is a first time around, or a first time landlord that's come in surprised by the process. He's obviously been here before and knows what to expect.
Okay. And
Yes,
Alderman
this
Barshir.
is not a new subject here. This is an ongoing for years here. The thing is, and now the police department has been talking and doing things and going to work out things, and all of a sudden it comes the last minute now. It's all up in the air. I mean, the thing is, we had enough time to study these issues, and I feel sorry for the attorney at the last minute, but the thing is, been sitting out here for how long? You know, I just can't see it.
Okay. Any other further discussion from members of the council? Then to me as a chairman, it sounds like there is no will from the council to postpone this hearing. Alderman LaCour?
No, I think it should roll as we're going on
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
Tonight.
All right. And again, no disrespect, Attorney Miller, and I understand, you coming before us and asking for more time to read through the information, but it sounds like the will of the council is to proceed. If you would like to speak tonight on behalf of Mr. Paparo, I'll be more than happy to allow that. Again, I apologize that, for your client's limited time for you to prepare, but it seems like the council is willing to proceed forward. Okay? All right, thank you. So then at this time, I would ask the Cudahy Police Department to present their case first, and then we will hear from Mr. Paparo and potentially Attorney Miller, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, Chief.
Good evening. We're here tonight to again address the problems at Mr. Paparo's properties. Cudahy Municipal Code 10.08 was created to abate chronic nuisance premises. A nuisance property is that which has generated 3 or more calls for police and or fire department service for nuisance activities on separate days during a 30-day period where that reported nuisances have occurred. Nuisance properties receive more than the level of general and adequate police service, and they place an undue and inappropriate burden on the taxpayers of the city. This ordinance is used by the Cudahy Police Department on an ongoing basis to abate nuisances without the need to charge property owners. Typically, landlords understand when their tenants are receiving more than the level of general and adequate police service and are placing an undue and inappropriate burden on the taxpayers of the city. It's been our experience that either the nuisance activities stop or the landlord makes the decision to remove the problem tenants rather than pay nuisance charges. I hope they view it not only as a financial decision, but as a civic duty to provide for the peace and safety of the neighborhood. As you know, this is not something that is catching the property owner unaware. Mr. Paparo knows his properties are chronic nuisances. We work with people to solve the problems and stop the nuisance activities. Our efforts to work with Mr. Paparo have failed, and he's again forcing us to take further action. Mr. Paparo is either unable or unwilling to correct the issues. Quite frankly, it doesn't matter to me whether he's unable or unwilling. The end result is the same. These properties place everyone at unnecessary and unacceptable risk. The people who live there are in harm's way. The neighbors are in harm's way. The police officers responding to these calls are in harm's way. 5779 and 5781 Packard were nuisance properties. Dave Schmidt purchased the buildings and, figuratively speaking, He took out the trash. He identified the problem tenants and got rid of them. Among other strategies, he put in sober on-site management, repaired broken items, updated and remodeled the apartments, put in video cameras, cut back foliage to create an open space, and got rid of the picnic table where people gathered to cause problems outside. The city doesn't have to tell Mr. Schmidt how to operate his business. Why can't Mr. Paparo run his business without placing everyone at unnecessary risk and placing an undue and inappropriate burden on the taxpayers of this city? Sergeant Kitzrow will now inform you of the circumstances of these cases.
Thank you, Chief. Sergeant Kitzrow.
Good evening. Start out by saying that on January 6th, a letter was sent to Mr. Paparo advising him of this meeting that we're having tonight. Again, I feel bad that the attorney has not had time in her mind to prep for this case, but why did he decide within the past couple days to get an attorney? We've had ample time to do that, and I appreciate you going along and continuing with this process today. I'm going to start with 5837 South Quality Avenue. A letter was sent back on October 6, 2010, notifying of the problems of that property. Last year, on July 22nd, he was sent a letter notifying that his property was in violation. The Common Council acted on August 6th of 2013 and assessed charges against his property. A letter was sent out, as I just said, on the 6th, January 6th, and we are here currently for that. The first case that I'm going to talk about is incident number 13-11434. Required 3 officers for a period of 2 hours. During that case, a subject came over to the property there, caused a disturbance that scared neighbors in the area. He also broke and damaged property at that residence. The subject was arrested and damaged the property. The incident required an arrest, taking the suspect to St. Luke's South Shore, where he was medically treated. He was transported to a criminal justice facility, and there were DA charging conferences with regards to that. I'm asking the council assess $575.14 for that incident. The second incident required 2 officers for a period of 3 hours. There was a disorderly conduct where a weapon was implied and a theft. Basically what happened is a van pulled up and there was threats made with regards to a weapon which appeared to be unfounded afterwards. It stemmed from a theft incident. A subject at that property was picked up and taken to a nearby Walmart to purchase cell phones. Subject went in, took the money and fled, instead stealing this money from these people that drove him there. The incident went back to 5837 Quality Avenue, where the police had to be called. There were actually multiple officers on that case, but I ended up charging for 2 officers as a period of 3 hours, asking the Common Council to assess a fee of $678. Third incident, 13-1211. It's a theft incident where a subject to that property claimed that money was stolen from the female that lives at that residence, which is also Mr. Paparo's daughter. An incident required 1 officer for 1 hour, $157.58. The third incident, I actually investigated myself. We got a call there that the female occupant, Mr. Paparo's daughter, was outside and causing a large disturbance. When I pulled up the incident, I observed the female rummaging through the garbage that was thrown all over the roadway. I would estimate there was probably 50 needles laying in the roadway and all over the grass. She's a known drug user. She was, happened the night before is there was an incident there, and Mr. Paparo took it upon himself to him and his son to clean up the property. They went through all the property, and her concern was that her drugs were thrown out. So she decided to throw the garbage can all over the roadway. Now, I'm not going to go into specifics with needle use and drug users, but we can all imagine what type of unsafe environment that is for the kids in the area. She continued to carry on, was swearing, yelling profanities out there, and was subsequently arrested. When she was arrested, she was found to have drug paraphernalia on her that she actually recovered from the garbage can. This required an arrest, a transport to criminal justice facility, and DA charging. I'm asking the Common Council to charge $575.14 for 3 officers to handle that for 2 hours. The total amount at that property that I'm asking you guys to assess, and I'm asking the Common Council to assess against 5837 quality is $1,985.86. Second property that I'm going to talk about, also owned by Mr. Paro, 3465, 3467 East Layton Avenue. The initial ordinance was established when I sent him a letter on 3/17/13. He was also issued a citation at that time for chronic nuisance premise. The enforcement date started on 3/30/13. The letter was sent to him on 7/22/13, notifying him of the Common Council meeting. On 8/6/13, I presented charges, and you approved charges against his property. The letter was sent on January 1st of this year regarding this property, and we're here now for the charging. The first incident that I'm going to be talking about is 13-12608. It's a disorderly conduct and a child neglect and a warrant. Essentially what happened was a male subject living at that property. His girlfriend showed up. They had a large argument outside which caused a disturbance. And the end result was she left a very young, a 6-year-old child at the property. He claims that he didn't know that the child was left behind, but we had a 6-year-old left behind. She left, he went inside, and the 6-year-old's left outside. This was a very long investigation. Sergeant Blunt investigated this. I was only able to charge out, based on the ordinance, up to a maximum of 5 hours. It took him 10 hours to investigate. I'm asking the Common Council to charge $945 for this incident. The next incident is 13-14879. It was a disorderly conduct noise complaint. This was an incident between 2 subjects in his building that could not get along. One subject called and was being very loud, keeping people up at this time of the morning, which was 2 o'clock in the morning. This incident was investigated by 2 officers for an hour. I'm asking the Common Council to assess a fee of $226. The next incident was another disorderly conduct, the subject being extremely loud. It took 3 officers for 1 hour. The subject was highly intoxicated and had to be sent to St. Luke's South Shore, where it continued to be a problem, had to be watched by an officer. I'm asking the Common Council to charge $287.57 for this incident. The last subject is 13.19477. Came in as a possible fight with a weapon implied. The subject was two individuals that were new to his apartment building that were causing a problem outside. There was no weapon ever involved, but it required 3 officers for an hour at a time, and the subject was cited for disorderly conduct. I'm asking the Common Council to charge this case at $287.57. The total amount for those 4 charges is $1,746.14. The final property that we'll be speaking about tonight is 3539 East Plankington Avenue. We should really not be here for this property. I'm going to show you something. This is a letter that Mr. Carl dropped off at the office for me. It's a notice of termination of tenancy. Basically, it's an eviction notice for a Gregory Kozel. This is dated back on March 15th. This is when this property started the nuisance. when I enacted the nuisance property for this building. Why is he still there? If you look at this sheet here, almost every one of these calls that I'm going to tell you about is regarding this Greg Cozell. He should have been gone. He didn't act. The first incidents, let me also state that I actually gave Mr. Powell a break on some of these. I could have charged every one of these CAD calls out as separate, but a few of these were so short that I linked them together. Otherwise, this fine would be huge. First incident, 13.13097, 13.1308, 13.13123. 2 officers for an hour. Those are 3 separate incidents where we had to be called back because the subject was throwing stuff around his apartment, keeping people up. Intoxicated when we show up, being loud, not allowing people to sleep. The next incident, 13.1407. This was a theft. Somebody had their bike stolen. It took 1 officer for 1 hour, 157.58. The next incident, 13.14721, another noise complaint, same subject, causing a problem. Asking $226 for that incident. Every time we go to his properties, it's always 2 officers. It's a nuisance property. I don't just go there with 1. There's more problems there. We have to go with 2 officers. The next 2 subjects next 2 cases I linked together, 13.14726, 13.14727. If you notice the numbers are so close, it's because when we clear, we have to go back within an hour or 2, or sometimes even 30 minutes, because there's a problem again. That was another noise complaint. 2 officers for a time of 1 hour, $226. Again, that could have been 2 charges of $226, but I gave him a break on the 2 calls together. Next subject, next case, 13.1773, another noise complaint. Same situation, same subject. 13.18155, another noise complaint, same subject, same complaint. The next 3, 14.73, 14.75, 14.37, a noise complaint. This was charged over 2 officers for 3 hours. I'm asking $678. Next one, 14.44. It's a noise complaint. We also ended up taking a subject to South Shore because this subject appeared to be in some type of medical distress. There was also a warrant pickup where we arrested somebody and had to be transported to CJF. 2 officers for 2 hours, $452. The final one on this list is 14.50, 14.51. It's a noise complaint. 2 separate ones that required 2 officers for a period of 2 hours, $452. The total amount in all of these is $3,321.58. And I'm asking that you approve all these charges that I just presented.
Thank you, Sergeant. Are there any questions that the members of the council may have of Sergeant Kitzel before we hear from Mr. Paparo and his representative?
This is about 87 pages worth of charges, isn't it? Am I right, Fred?
I'm sorry, I don't have the number, but it's a lot.
It does come off the computer, 87 pages of charges. I'm
Right.
amazed by that.
Any additional questions of Sergeant Kitzel or the chief? Okay, thank you. At this time, Attorney Miller and Ms. Paparo, if you would like to speak to the council, you may do so at this time.
My husband can't hear very good. So
Okay.
So could my son come and help my husband?
Sure, you can step forward, that's fine. I have no problem with that.
Thank you.
Sure.
I obviously haven't had a chance to take a look at all of the incident reports, but what struck me when I heard the presentation is that it appears there's a lot of medical issues at this, so I guess I'm a little concerned that perhaps my client's being charged for issues that I don't know that there's a way he can control if there are people that are chemically challenged or alcohol fall challenged or whatever other issues they have, I think that might be an issue, and something I'm obviously gonna have to take a look at and see if I can assist in that regard. I do know that my client has made an effort to the extent he can. Obviously, his hands are tied somewhat by the state statutes as to how he can get his people removed from the property and whether he has the right to do so. I know he has removed a lot of the problems already and is in the process, I think he said, as of the end of the month, getting rid of, is that Mr. Cozell?
That's, yeah.
Who will be gone, hopefully, if the court agrees with his request of a victim at the end of the month. So that would be one issue that will be resolved. So I know he's been making some pretty serious efforts to do that. Obviously, he's a little bit hampered by how much the state allows him to do that.
Yes, yeah, I used to take care of the problem myself when I was able to, and used to lock them out because of the rooming house. My license to rooming house. It's just like a motel or hotel. We have problems with tenants. They remove them. Now I walk by the city here. They have to give them 5 notice to remove them, and by that time, that get 7, 8 more calls that they have to appear before we can get rid of them. I can understand before I was taking care of the problems. I've been in this business for 45 years, and I've had no problems the last 4 or 5 years. I don't understand what this, and I don't get not cooperation from the police department either. They said they gave me breaks on it, but
Like off the person, they told us to be there.
yeah, yes. And so that's another thing. When I wanted to get rid of a person, they had an ongoing investigation with someone was explicit for prostitution, and they thought that the officer told me I should keep them in there until they could finish the investigation. And I cooperated with him off the Hazy. And now they won't finish me. I tried to cooperate with the people, with the officers as much as I could. They're not cooperating with me. When I want to get rid of the people, they stop me from doing it because they have to say they got to go through the process. I'm a licensed operator, and I should be able to do what I'd have to do. That's like a hotel or motel.
We rent by the week and by the day. And if a hotel doesn't get paid, they lock up and manage my father's buildings. And we never had problems back before when I was able to get rid of the people. And then you never had to have to come back more than one time for the person because we get rid of them right away. Now we got to wait 30 days or 40 days. I own property too, and I know it takes time. And I have nicer apartments and still get the same type of sickness. My dad has a daughter that has a problem or whatever, that's his daughter. We always try to get rid of the other people though, and was able to get rid of them. One time when I was trying to get rid of the one of the people that was causing problems, I was accosted by a police officer, had locked my apartment and had locked my store. He called me all kinds of wretched names and called me a effing papero and called me all kinds of stuff. So I mean, this goes both ways. If this is a perfect time for us to work together, if you want these problems solved, we got to have something where we can be able to get rid of these people right away, so that we don't not sitting there for 30 or 60 days until we are able to remove them. Then there wouldn't be all these reasons.
What types of preemptive measures have you taken to screen tenants and to qualify people before you rent to them? Is there any, instead of getting to the point where you have to throw them out?
Some of the times, like Barbara Johnson, when she was still alive, would bring people to church, and they vouch for them or whatever. Some of these people aren't, I mean, where are they going to go? But when they did come, we would let them know, hey, we don't want no police contact. You got to pay the rent. You better keep the stuff clean. If not, we're going to get rid of you. Now they threaten us with calling you guys, and it makes it harder for us to get rid of them. When we would just lock them out, they would come and get their stuff, we'd give it to them, and they'd be gone. And we never had no problems with any of that before.
All organizations try to call me.
I went on CCAP for one of my tenants.
To rent rooms to certain people, and they vouch for them as well. And then it turned out that, I guess an incident just happened just last couple of days ago.
We don't want them people there any more than you guys want them there. We can understand that they're, with the problems that they are, with the government giving everybody this and that and giving them everything, they got so much more access to the chemicals and the stuff. Plus, with alcohol and all the ones with the alcohol related stuff, now if I was a bartender and I served somebody and they went out and they killed somebody, they could come back after me. So you guys should be looking at who's selling them this stuff too. If they're going up to P-cars or they're going to wherever, they should be responsible too. Because they're the ones that are giving these people that shouldn't be having this stuff. When they come in there and they reek and they stink, they should be getting just as much trouble as anybody else or more. Because if I would serve somebody and that person, like the person at City Lounge, and then they drove off and that one guy almost cut himself in half with the seatbelt. They went back after the young girl at the City Lounge. That's a law. I work at the Bradley Center. This is a test that I have to take to serve alcohol. So that third-party thing should also be coming in with these alcohol ones.
I've heard the word hotel mentioned like 3 times during that defense. This is by no means anywhere near a hotel. It's like the hotel motel. The building, I understand Mr. Paparo is trying to provide a service, but I would have to say most of these people, it's a building full of people who've made bad decisions, that they've ended up in a place where you have to rent a room by the day, by the half week, by the 1 week. That's a clientele that I don't want here as an alderman. We shouldn't need here, and this is all what Alderman Morales said. What preemptively have you done? The building's a dump. I've seen the garbage pictures in the back from the inspection department. There's needles back there. There's garbage flung out windows and stuff like that. You've got a business next door. You've got a municipal lot that we're trying to attract people to make this a quote-unquote entertainment district, and it's a flop house is what you run. It's time to put a for sale sign and plant grass there.
We got that building right now I'm right now in the process of redesigning that building with architect planners. I've been working on this for a while. I am waiting to see what you guys are doing. I wanted to make it a bed and breakfast and use that and make it really nice and have where I could take people to Summerfest, to Cupcake, when I thought that the commuter rail was there.
That idea sounds great. That sounds grand. Why don't you do it with the rest of your places? Guess why? You run crap holes, you stick no money in, and you try getting all the profit out. That is ruining our city.
You don't know what you're even talking about. We already got sued from somebody. For discrimination, and we don't even know who it was because they said we wouldn't rent them a place. So we had to settle with it.
I remodeled, I owned this building since 1974. I remodeled it quite a few times already. I reduced it from 29 rooms to 19 rooms. And I had the fire department come over here after I remodeled it, and they praised me for remodeling it that way. So don't tell me I didn't remodel it. I tried to take care of this building. I had no problems with my building until the last 4 or 5 years.
You would be able to rent to a better clientele in all of your properties.
Well, all right, wait a minute.
You could. If you stuck some money into
people
it.
into a hotel or motel, you don't know what you're getting when you rent to them. You rent to them, and then you find out that they take care of the problem.
Right away. And that's what we want to do. This is a perfect time for us to work together so that we can get rid of them right away. How can we get rid of them right away when we give them eviction notice and then we got to wait?
It's moving us. You're dealing with people who have a lot of money. It's statistically proven. You're dealing with the lower echelon of society who's more prone to drugs, more prone to alcohol, more prone to getting in fights with cops, wasting our time, money, and resources. Find a better business. Your business model stinks. You're gonna be back in front of us every 6 months.
Let's move on, Alderman Hollenbeck.
One of the things that I heard is, or didn't hear, is you saying that you do background checks. You do word of mouth by friends of, people at churches and stuff like that.
Yes.
But you don't do background checks on these?
Background checks. I believe you also indicated, and I'm
You
going to
do
find out.
background checks on when a rent a hotel, motel? But they go background checks on them?
But are you actually considered a hotel, motel?
Yeah.
No, you're
I'm
not.
I have license. I'm
That's how we
licensed.
used to be able to get rid of people right away. I mean, I went and did a background check I use CCAP for the tenants I get, and I still have, now I've got one tenant suing the South Milwaukee Police Department, and there was nothing on them.
But I guess my...
Because, and they're suing for
I
racism.
guess my question is, you don't use like a professional service that does any background checks?
We just started that. We just started doing it, that's why there's so much less charges, but still, some people, they come in, like I said, you can't get rid of them, like when you, in a timely manner, and then you end up with 3, 4 more calls, which falls into the whatever, and by then it's too late.
But that's not the Cudahy Police Department telling you you cannot.
Yes, it was, I told you, I tried throwing somebody out one time, and I had one of the police officers jab his finger in my chest.
And what was that officer's name, and when was the incident?
When I owned my pet store.
That was 10 years ago.
That was 10 years ago. That has nothing to do with these properties here.
It was the same, it was a late matinee. I had to close my store.
My question was, does that have anything to do with 5837 Quality Avenue? Does it have anything to do with 3465, 3467 East Layton? Does it have anything to do with 30? So on the Cudahy, you're telling me the Cudahy Police Department has told you cannot evict those tenants?
Yes.
You were telling me that?
Yeah, they said you cannot.
Sergeant Kitzrow, in all the police reports that I read, the 100 and some pages, did I ever see anything from the Cudahy Police Department regarding the constant calls from the gentleman by the last name of Kozel, where the Cudahy Police Department said, you may not move out of this property?
So what I tell them is they need to fix the problem. Now, what he is saying, now, with Kozel, I showed you that. It was July 15th, he issued him an eviction notice. What happened with that? Why is he still there?
July 15th,
I'm sorry, March 15th of last year. Why is he still there?
That, I would like an answer to that question.
How long is does anyone know how long the eviction process takes? I mean, is it a month, is it 2 months? How long is the eviction process?
It could take
So
up to 2 months.
Okay, even if you said 3 months.
He's still there.
He's still there, and he should have been gone
Well,
a
this
while
one might have
ago.
slipped through the cracks.
But again, the Cudahy Police Department, in their reports, in the multiple incidents we heard at that facility, sometimes 2 to 3 times in one night, have had to deal with that slipping through the cracks. And the constant police calls and the constant chronic nuisance that has been presented before us tonight as a governing body. Am I correct in that statement?
Am I
correct in that statement?
That guy in Viking. Why didn't you give him eviction in March? How come you didn't throw him out?
I didn't give no, I didn't.
Yeah, you said that you showed
It's
us.
in his hand.
It's in the police officer's hand that you evicted the tenant, but he's still living there. We still had calls dated in
Some
2014.
other tenants, and they were easily evicted.
That rent
I
goes out or whatever.
never eviction notice that in March last
You
year.
handed it to me personally in the police department.
My-
The reason why you did that is because I told you, I was giving you a letter with regards to that property and that tenant. So instead of waiting, what they have is 10 days to respond and write here in person. He came the same day that I issued the citation. I'll show you that, and I'd like that back, I'll give you a copy afterwards. Who's the tenant?
I mean, to me, it seems like things got a little better since the last time we had to come here.
One issue that I think none of us can answer is, unfortunately, even if you give, I haven't done evictions for years, frankly, but, and it's very frustrating from what I can recall, because even though you post and you give them the notice, they can show up in court and they can contest it, and if the court doesn't give it to you, you can keep going back, and you can be doing that from us. I remember doing it myself.
There's 6,000 properties in Cudahy though, and we habitually have the same problem with Mr. Paparo's property for years now. He seems to be the only one that isn't getting it. I mean, there's a few others on the list, but...
You said about how that people on, the two buildings up there on Packard, you know, the guy knows how to take care of his stuff or whatever. Well, you know what, I see the cops there all the time, and they weren't here the last time we had them here.
Right, because they are no longer a chronic nuisance property.
No,
because
when they were a chronic nuisance property.
Yes, sir, that is correct, but they are no longer a chronic nuisance property because they have not been cited under our chronic nuisance property since Mr. Schmidt has purchased the property.
He stuck money, he invested to get a better clientele in his.
We're not here to talk. We're not here to talk about Mr. Schmidt tonight, even though the police chief brought that up. He brought it up as again, Mr. Park, he brought it up as an example of this is somebody who has taken things into their own hands.
My dad, we did it too, like he told you. This was the third time we remodeled it, and we're going to have to do it again. You know, back in the day, people, they smoked too many cigars, they drank a little too much or whatever, people died from emphysema. Now, you know, how come nobody's getting these people that are selling the heroin or selling the alcohol to these people or whatever like that, and it wouldn't be a problem.
And there are police actions for that.
We're tying up resources, putzing around at your property.
Okay, I'm going to go Alderperson Chisholm. I'm going to go Alderperson Chisholm, and I'm going to go Sergeant Kitzrow. Alderperson Chisholm, you had a question or comment? No. Okay, we good. I'm going to go Sergeant Kitzrow, then I'll go Alderman Morales.
I just wanted to say one last thing. When I deal with landlords and they tell me they're an eviction problem, I tell them, if you need me for court, I will go to court for you. We want to fix the eviction process.
Well, that's, you know, like I said, my dad, I can help my dad. When I took care of the buildings, there wasn't these problems. I had to go off on my own a little bit because my dad has other sons and daughters, Andrea, that he takes care of. My dad's a little bit older now. I can do this, but I need to be able to have somebody work with me so that I'm not having my hands tied behind my back.
Okay.
And like I said, we're in the process. I'm working with architect planners to redesign that building, but I'm kind of stuck in limbo because there's supposed to be a commuter rail put back there. I don't want to make that place into like a bed and breakfast. If I have all these people coming from Chicago and stuff like that, I can, you know, make them go like this. But otherwise,
commuter rail has been gone for several years. There's no state money for that.
So that's why if we build a train line, you'll fix it up. No. If we don't, you'll flop
that was to make the decision of what.
Okay. All right. Alderman Morales.
All right. Besides these fines and focusing specifically on the rooming house, back in October of 2013, we passed updates to ordinance number 2387, which specifically states that if the rooming house operator has been found to have a chronic nuisance premise per section 10.8-4 of the Cudahy Municipal Code, the chief of police shall notify the health officer in writing, and such officer shall suspend the permit and give notice in writing to the operator that the permit has been suspended. That is a permit or a license that you said that you have gotten several times now from the city. As of right now, Mr. Paparo has 3 rooming houses that are listed as chronic nuisance and has proven to either be unable or unwilling to effectively manage these properties. The habitual neglect has done more than tie up resources and aggravate the neighbors. It has done damage to the name and reputation of the city and continues to play a role in stifling business investments and deterring families from moving to the area. We're building a brand new high-end apartment right behind your property on Layton right there. How long do you think it's going to be until people start moving out of that place when they have to step over needles or jars of urine on the way to their house? It puts all parties involved, the police, the residents, and the community in harm's way. Therefore, it is my belief that in addition to these forfeitures, the city should no longer grant Mr. Paparo a privilege of having a permit and go forward with the suspension process. I have written to the chief of police and informed of my sentiment of this and spoken with Kim Whitmore of the health department and devised a preemptive plan that should these permits get suspended, the residents who are displaced will be taken care of. It is not my intention to see good people bear the consequences of poor management, but to continually bring Mr. Paparo here before the common council every few months. This has been an ongoing issue, though. This is not the first time that I've heard it.
Continuously bring them here. This is the second time. That's not continuous.
Well,
And from the last time to this time, he's cleaned up a lot of the stuff. To me, outside of my daughter's sister, it seems like you're only worried about.
you still have 5 properties on the active and listed nuisance properties here. 5. That to me, that's showing no signs of
You
moving
only
forward.
cited 3 properties.
Tonight, but there are 2 additional properties that you own that are.
Is that from before, or is that?
Those are ongoing. Those are ongoing, and if they rise to the level of a chronic nuisance citation like you received for January, on January 6th, you'll be before this common council again on those 2 properties or any other properties. No different than anybody else. If you remember that hearing, there were 4 different property owners that were here that evening. Tonight we have 1. I don't care if we have 1 or have 100 different people that are before the common council. But hopefully we have none. But again, we are back here tonight because the level of incidents, these properties have risen to the point.
Again, with the incidents and level of incidents, there wouldn't be as many incidents. If we can run our properties the way we used to, we can get rid of these people a lot faster.
I can't change that part of state law, sir. I can't change that, nor can this governing body.
We did it for.
We have to live with it, okay?
Well, we've gotten rid of the people before. Let us go about our business and we'll be able to.
Again, sir, I cannot change that. It's state law. It's something that is out of my jurisdiction's hands. I have to live with it as an agent of a governing body, i.e. the city of Cudahy, but I can't change state law. I'd love to have things like they were in 1962 when it comes to the price of groceries and gasoline, but unfortunately that isn't going to happen either. I have to deal with the here and now. And the here and now is, we have spent almost 45 minutes here listening to over 102 pages of police calls regarding this property, and it's up to the common council to make a decision whether they want to approve the charges as presented and bill you for those charges, because they are, as the council could feel, is that they are an undue burden on the citizens of this community. That's how the process works.
Mr. Chairman?
If we're able to, I mean, would you be willing to work with us if we could start bringing in and showing you the designs and stuff to that we're going to do, what we're going to do to remodel that?
As the mayor, as the chairman of the plan commission, if you have ideas for remodeling your facility, I will be more than happy to sit down with you and talk about it. I have no problem with that. I will have no problem making my staff available to you or anybody else who is willing to make an investment in my community, as we have done in the past and as we will do in the future. Will that stop the chronic nuisance? Will that put things on hold? That's 2 separate issues. All right? The city is not going to stop this hearing because somebody says they're going to come forward with something. I hope you do come forward with a nice, decent plan to update that facility. Like I said, as the mayor, as the chairman of the plan commission, we will dedicate whatever resources that we need to do to bring a high-end, good design development here to the city of Cudahy. We will help you navigate through the process. We will treat you no different than we treat anybody else, Cudahy resident or somebody who is interested in developing here in our community. That you have my word on. Okay? But as far as delaying the chronic nuisance hearing and the charges before us, those 2 issues. Yes, Mr.
Let's
Popar.
stop renting rooms until I get rid of all the problems that we have here. And there's one problem here, that the one that we got, that I ain't gonna rent any more rooms until I get rid of all the problems. And that's it. And then go from there.
Mr. Chairman, this time I move to take assist to fines to churches.
Okay. If the council agrees, a motion would be to approve the charges for the nuisance incidents at 5937 South Quality Avenue in the amount of $1,985.86. 3465/67 East Layton Avenue.
You got the one charge on there that I know of. It's a duplicate charge of the previous time I was here. The previous charge that was here at 50 that I know of. It's a charge of 1434 I guess you got over here. That's why I wanted, why.
Sergeant, can you
I really want
verify?
to take a look at the,
Can you verify that that's?
11434?
yeah.
I explained at the last council meeting that that was a pending charge coming forth. It was not charged through.
Okay,
It was not charged.
I
Was not
gave you a
charged.
little precursor to what's coming next.
okay, all right. Then continuing on with the motion, it would be 3465/67 East Layton Avenue in the amount of $1,746.14. 3539 East Plankington Avenue in the amount of $3,321.58, totaling $7,053.58. Alderman Bartoshevich, is that your motion?
So moved, sir.
Do I have a second? Moved by Alderman Bartoshevich, seconded by Alderman Lickwood. Any discussion? On a roll call. Locking your votes. All voting in favor.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Then a motion to adjourn would be in order. Do I have a second? Moved by Alderman Bartoshevich, seconded by Alderman Morales. Any discussion? You've heard the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by the usual aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. So ordered. The special meeting is adjourned. The regular meeting of the Common Council will start at 7:30 p.m.